サタンしろ
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 227 of the Saturn Studs podcast. I'm Kurt, joined once again this week by my thievingest co-hosts, Peter and Jake.
We're the stealingest boys of all time. Coming at you this week with the Century Eggs Benedict Arnold edition of the cast. That's like the before and after in Wheel of Fortune, but like
is that going to be your
two
new gimmick now, Peter? All these are before and
No.
afters.
No.
You did one
I
last
just couldn't
week.
think of anything this week.
Is
that what I did last week?
Yes, you said
God damn it.
Joseph, Bazooka Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat was your one last week.
Oh, yeah. No, I just had Eggs Benedict this morning.
So dumb. Man, I like that.
Oh.
No, stick with it. Before and after. Fuck it.
I gotta stop doing these while I'm eating breakfast or while I'm drinking the Mountain Dew mystery flavor, because that shit just tastes like sugar, like even more than regular Mountain Dew. It's just sugar. I'm drinking high fructose corn syrup.
I mean, you've been in upstate New York long enough, but have you yet ventured out to a Stewart's and bought the blue raspberry drink?
No, I have been to Stewart's though.
That is, buy a small jug of the brutal raspberry drink, but make sure your dental insurance is up to date because you will need it.
Do my teeth start vibrating after I drink half of it?
It is like super saturated with sugar. They heat it up at the factory just to get a couple more spoonfuls in.
Your teeth get a sugar rush. Jesus. It's all the shit my mother warned me about. And of course, as always, we're coming at you live from a rickety car driving towards a castle that is just, I mean, this car is just, it can take a beating.
But it's got a fucking V8 in it.
So it's got a V something, whatever.
It's got a fucking
in
jet
the back.
engine in that thing.
Yeah.
It's of course not Lupin 1, not Lupin 2, but Lupin 3.
Or
Trace.
Wolf, as he is referred to in the streamlined dub of this movie.
Oh no. So we watched Castle of Cagliostro, which Kurt and I have seen before. I don't know if Jake's seen it before.
I have never seen this movie. I've never seen any Lupin movie. I'm excited to see more Lupin movies.
It's
I
good.
like Lupin.
It's a TV. There's several series about it. There's
saw
literally 5 parts out. There are various movies. It's been going for a long ass time.
This movie itself was from 1979.
This was like Hayao Miyazaki's like first work.
Yeah.
One of his first things.
And like every Miyazaki movie, it feels 3 times as long as it actually is.
It did feel slightly long, even though the runtime was like, about an hour and a half?
Hour, 40 minutes, yeah.
It's because it has like 3 climaxes. So yes, the thing about this week is that they watched the Netflix edition, which was the streamlined dub, because the manga entertainment dub, I'll give a little bit of backstory here, was it got caught up in like legal disputes with the estate that owns Lupin. So no one has access to the manga entertainment dub. If you have a DVD, you can watch it.
Yeah, I think
so.
Both
I tried.
dubs are on the DVD and Blu-ray version. So if you really want to watch the good dub, drop $5 on one of those.
Please. I watched the special edition for a minute, heard the voices, and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna watch the sub."
Yeah, that was probably
so I
wise.
watched it in Japanese, and it was
I was
quite
feeling
entertaining.
extra frisky, and I decided to make that English and then slap English subtitles on there just to see
they
what the
don't
fuck was
match.
going on. They did call him Lupin in the subtitles, but they called him Wolf.
The sub is the manga entertainment sub. But then they use the streamlined dub. I bet you $1.
Yeah.
I bet you a counterfeit
bizarre.
goat bill.
Because like it was funny because what the dub was saying was a different movie than the subtitle.
Yes.
It was very different.
Yeah, the tone and tenor of the Streamlines dub is not at all matching the action that happens on the movie.
So bad.
It's pretty bad. So I would recommend watching it subtitled if you must watch it on Netflix and can't acquire of the other things. For shits and giggles, I watched like the last 20 minutes of the movie again with the Spanish dub and English subtitles, and it sounded better.
I'm sure. But we'll be getting into all the nitty gritty of that later on in the show. Right now, we have the segment that megments your degment. I don't know. It's Trey Watch, kids. We watch trailers and we talk about them to you.
You don't have to. And there are a number of skippable trailers. We'll just get the good one out of the way. We got another trailer for No Time to Die, and I maintain this is the best looking James Bond movie in years.
I feel like I would appreciate it more if I knew the previous James Bond storylines, because they mentioned somebody who didn't die.
So here's the thing about James Bond movies. It always seems like there's a larger overarching story, but there isn't.
Yeah,
that's what I gleaned from like just other previous James Bond movies. Just they seem like they never had this like I never really watched all of them, but then again, I never really watched Fast and the Furious. But I knew there was a plot that stretched over the entire movies. James Bond is just like, all right, new bad guy, new way to end the world. How do we stop him?
Yeah.
Cars.
Mm-hmm. Once upon a time, they were adapting novels by Ian Fleming, and then they ran out of books, and they just kind of went off on their own. And like, if you look at, they're better to look at as just like isolated movies, and like if you don't pay too much attention to the story, then just enjoy the fast cars, beautiful women, and cool action, then
makes sense.
You'll be fine.
Just look at the guns, cars, and tits. You'll be fine. It's a good movie, right?
It does look like quite the meaty entree there. But I don't know. While I was watching it, there was something about the action that like it got me in my goat, grabbed my goat, and my goat was
That's
not
illegal
happy.
in some states now.
Is your goat okay?
My goat kicked in the can.
He broke the
Goats eat
golden
cans.
rule. You never touch the
Never
goat.
touch a goat.
You let the goat touch you.
The goat did not touch me on this. I don't know. Maybe this is the movie that made me realize that like James Bond type spy thrillers aren't like my cup of tea. Maybe. I don't know. It all just seemed like very I feel like I've seen it before, which I guess it's James Bond, so yes, that's kind of the point.
There's about 80 of these movies floating out there.
Right. You don't go to James Bond looking for something like novel and out there.
Wow, that was new and interesting. Never seen that before.
This new they tried doing experimental James Bond in the 80s, I think. Who was that? There's that one James Bond like
like Richard Moore or something. It looked like Rick Moranis. I'm just going to Google nerdy James Bond and see what comes up.
Nerdy.
It was not successful.
If I can.
So I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm going to not watch it until I need to take a flight next, and then I'll watch it on the plane. Because that's how I've watched James Bond movies up to this point. I've gotten on a plane, I need something to pass the time, and I put on a James Bond movie.
Roger Moore is the one. Roger Moore.
You're giving it a plane out of 10.
Plane out of 10.
Watch it on a plane.
Plane that turns into a submarine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to talk more about it, but I just don't know what's really going on because the entirety of the trailer was just action. It was just like action.
Which I guess is good if you don't know the plot. That's better than them telling the plot.
True. So, like, if you're interested in watching a dope action movie, maybe this will grab your goat and it might treat your goat well.
Oh wait, maybe it wasn't
Oh, grab your
Roger
hog.
Moore.
Otacon, squeeze my
It
hog.
was one of them. He was only James Bond in like 2 movies, so whichever one.
They snapped up to that right quick. They're like,
Yeah.
these aren't doing too well.
The one thing I will say about the trailer was Remy Malik is the villain, and he wears a mask because his face is
Yes,
disfigured.
he
or
is the
scarred or
Empress of
something like
Tomorrow.
that. But when he takes off his mask, he doesn't look like he's that disfigured. Like he has crackled face from
He's
like
got paper bag skin.
He just looks like he's, did too much tanning and worked on the farm, I guess.
It had nothing
Like,
to
if
do with the character. Rami he had a bad day tanning before they started shooting, and he's like, this is going to take 6 months to heal. Can we just make it so my character wears a mask the whole film?
He was simultaneously filming another movie where he was disfigured, and
He didn't want to CGI
it was
out
like
the pet
6
skin.
it was like 6 hours in the makeup chair to get that on. He's like, I can't do it, guys. I can't take it off.
like
He looked at the Superman mustache CGI, and it's like, people
there
didn't
ain't
like
nothing
that
wrong
one.
with him.
I gotta stay
If I
away
was
from
into that kind of thing, I'd be like, yeah, he's a handsome dude.
But we're not into crinkly skin here on
We're not
Saturn
into-
Studs.
Yeah.
Not one of our turn-ons. You can add that to the wiki. We don't have a wiki.
Should I add that to our Tinder profile?
That'd be weird if, like, just one day a Saturn Studs wiki that's like really fleshed out pops up on the internet. One very dedicated fan spent years putting it together.
And in episode 56, we see that Curtin.
They have
describe
the
this
footage of the rest of this void, which if you watch the video feed over the months and years, you'll see that it starts out there's nothing back here, but it's slowly getting populated with chairs. Chairs just start appearing in the blank space in this room. I don't know. I'm accumulating chairs. I've actually inherited a friend's basically his apartment. I just bought a lot of his shit because he's moving out. So I have a second TV and many more chairs and another set of nice Tupperware and
Tupperware.
a trash can and a remote control fan. This podcast is now Peter lists things that he has in his apartment. Can opener. Knife block.
Diploma.
4 steak knives.
Darth
Serrated.
Vader.
That was actually the one I was super excited about because he's like, I'm gonna throw away these wood-handled steak knives. They're like, they're really nice. He's like, I want to keep these cheap-ass silver, like, chef knives. I'm like, no, throw away chef's knife. Keep the nice craftsman steak knives. And I have them now.
Good.
I have them
So that's
now.
no time to die.
Yeah. All about steak knives.
He's a fucking Cutco. Comes up,
Cutco
goes
salesman.
to Rami Malek. He's like,
Cutco.
I'm selling Cutco knives.
Oh, did you guys have the Cutco people at your graduation trying to poach
At your
kids?
oh no.
Yeah.
At graduation.
At our high school
No.
graduation, because we had ours outdoor at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center in Saratoga, New York. And there were people, like, when you go in, because we only rented our cap and gowns. We didn't buy them, so we had to give them back to get our real diploma. You got a holder that was empty. And, like, in the area where you had to go to return your cap and gown, there they were, waiting, handing out their vector marketing things. And at several of the graduation parties yesterday, I was like, hey, you guys want to join a pyramid scheme? And handed them.
Yeah, were they selling knives? Or were they selling knives?
No, they were recruiting people to sell knives.
Okay.
Man,
Perfect.
pyramid schemes are
Cutco
weird.
doesn't sell knives. Yeah, it is just straight
We
up
don't have
a
a product. We just recruit people.
big ol' MLM energy. We don't have Nutrilite? What's the fucking ones?
Herbalife?
Nutrilite. Is it Vitamix? Is that one of them too?
Vitamita Vegemin.
Vita
That's
Vita
fucking,
Benjamin?
Meta Vita Vegemin. Yeah, that's the one. No, we don't have those up here. At least not that I know of. I'm not on Facebook, so I wouldn't know.
Oh.
You know what else we
Possessor.
sell?
Versus-
Oh, okay.
Not even going to bother with the transition. Just Possessor.
Is that another MLM?
Yes,
Possessor.
it seems like it. I don't know what's going on in this movie. There's a girl. It's a neon film, so it's of course there's a girl in it, and she is in like this Assassin's Creed style VR transplant your consciousness into someone else doohickey.
Oh,
And
yes.
Sean Bean is trying to get killed, but once again, no one kills Sean Bean in a movie.
Sean Bond. Okay. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that one. It's like it's got a weird like chair hooky setup.
Yeah,
Like a very
it's
sci-fi sort of like come into the lab, young lady, sit on this clinical ass chair and
so
we'll shove
basically
the probe up your butt.
they have a very expensive and complex looking machine that accomplishes the same task as the hat in Super Mario Odyssey.
Fantastic.
Why not get a hat? Come on.
It would seem easier, but then
Yeah.
then they would get sued by James Bond for being too much like Odd Job.
Throw in the hat.
And
Super
then
Mario Odd Jobacy.
yeah. So that you could go and throw something else, but then, Austin Powers would come knocking and be like, you're too much like Random Task. We gotta shut this down.
Well, I get it.
Oh.
Odd job, random task.
Yeah. You also got it when I explained the joke in our review of that movie.
I forget these things. I
Every
forget
day
these
It's as
connections.
fresh as the last.
Man, I can't wait till I get dementia.
Oh,
I'll like
watch
it-
out, Jake's got dementia.
Oh no, Jackie T's got dementia. He's off his bloody rocker.
Hey guys, we should watch this one movie I found. It seems like it's a pretty good stack cast. Hotel Artemis, I think. I think it's coming out soon.
I was hoping for the swerve, and you were just going to say something completely different.
You're going to lead into our next trailer, LX 2048, which is not Blade Runner 2040, whatever.
2049.
It's trying real hard to be, but it's not. So LX 2048, the sun's real hot out. The sun's getting real hot out there, Chief. Everybody stay indoors. Everyone's apparently depressed now because the sun is out too much. So they're all jacked into their virtual boys, and they take
dark
prescription
rooms.
depression pills. And one guy doesn't, and he learns that maybe the world isn't everything that it was, because maybe the pills are brainwashing people. Maybe the virtual reality is brainwashing people.
Wait.
Here's this dude who comes into your room and he chokes you out, but he's really your friend. He's got a revolver.
Isn't that just the plot of like The Giver?
It's the
The
plot
Giving
of
Tree?
fucking like Equilibrium.
The Giver. That was.
The Giving Tree?
The Giver. Yep, that was.
That's where there's no
I-
color.
They made. I
Yeah,
think
but
they
they
made a
all-
movie about that. Didn't they make a movie about the Giver?
They all get injected with something. They all have to take their injections, right?
I don't
No, you're-
think
And then-
so.
And then the giver or something like that, or the main whoever's selected amongst them, they don't take the injection so they can see color.
I don't remember
No.
injections
That's
being
close.
part of the Giver.
That's right. I think maybe you're thinking of like Harrison Bergeron, which I also read that around the same time, so those get confused in my head. But the Giver was just they just bred it out of people. Like you just didn't see color, but they couldn't
Okay.
fix the color red. And then he's like, "What's this fucking thing? Why does this apple look this way?" He's like, the Giver's like, "Well, it's red." And the Giver was like, there's the one kid who like remembers everything for the whole village because written media doesn't exist. Fuck that.
Yeah. The community lacks color, memory, climate, or terrain, all in an effort to preserve structure, order, and a true sense of equality beyond personal individuality. It's basically just a like thinly veiled argument against communism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember some like book then
Here it
eventually
is.
turned show where like they refuse to take their medication, but that like awaken them, that like open their eyes to what's really going on.
Well, there's a movie about it.
There are several
And
movies
it's-
about it.
Schlack. I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know. Either way,
I don't know. I'll have to look
in
it
this movie, in LX 2048, the graphics suck. By which I mean the special effects suck. The acting is kind of hokey. And they use sequences that remind me of Pass Through by Neil Breen. They have dream sequences. They're like when he's wandering around in the desert and he just like, I'm just going to hard cut to a skull and then a tiger and then me with a tiger.
You know your
and then
movies.
drone footage of the Arizona desert.
You know your movie's on the right track when it draws a comparison to Neil Breen movie from us. That's a marker quality right there.
Neil
I'm so
DeBreen
glad
Tyson.
I don't understand the reference, because I have not seen Pass Through yet.
I've seen enough from Red Letter Media and trailers to know what Peter's talking about. But I also have not subjected myself to the torture of Pass Through.
Keep up on this stuff.
Twisted Pair is another one that I've yet to put myself through. I know Diane has been pushing me to watch a Neil Breen movie, but I keep explaining to her that I'm doing it to protect her. It's for her own good. Neil Breen changes a man.
Does it really does?
I'm not the same
Haven't been the
person
same
I
since.
was before Jake made me watch Fateful Findings.
I still remember. I remember where I was. I remember where we all were.
Yes, we were all together in the like sunroom of the honors house at AU watching this movie as I pound my fist into the floor and curse Jake.
No,
I turn
no,
into
this isn't a movie.
I turn into Willem Dafoe from fucking The Lighthouse when Robert Pattinson says he doesn't like his lobster. Hark!
You're fond of me, lobster. Later that semester, I remember. I think we finished Samurai Jack, and they were like, "All right, what are we gonna do now?" And then we watched the first episode of Voltron.
Yeah. I
Was that-
think Samurai Jack happened the new season. Like I think we had watched the latest episode, but I know we didn't finish that season until after graduation because that was one of the first
Okay.
shows we did post graduation. Actually, I think that was the last show we did before Jake joined the show full time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, history.
It was the end of a beautiful era.
It was.
Sorry,
Show was a lot better back then.
True.
Jake's like, I liked the show before I was in it.
Yeah, I lost interest when Jake joined the show. Jake says that to us.
Any other trailers?
None that I have. So let's go straight
Yeah,
and
it was a light week for trailers, so
go straight into the follow-up, where there are actually quite a few movies that we talked about on this here Trey Watch.
They're coming to fruition.
They have come. They have been waiting until such a time where that thousands of theaters could show a movie, and still it will only gross $7 million. I, of course, am referring to the number one movie in America, The New Mutants. Finally, this movie has been just around the corner for about 8 years now, it seems like, and it's finally out. It finally happened, guys. And in 2,412 theaters, it grossed just over $7 million. Which is good enough to be the number one movie in America, but not a super compelling per theater take.
Not
However,
at all.
it is our spotlight film this week. And every week on the follow-up, in order to live up to the name of the segment, we follow up on one of these movies that we've talked about on Trey Watch and see how it's doing critically. And the answer for The New Mutants is not great. It's currently sitting on a 31% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb and a paltry 39 on Metacritic. But worry not, producers of the New Mutants. Your movie has a 4.1 out of 5 on Facebook, whatever that means. Yeah, so not doing great.
Did
but
the audience like it? Audience liked it a little bit more on Rotten Tomatoes, but not much.
But
Still 53%.
fuck all them. They're professional critics. They don't know what they're talking about. You have to go down to the street level to get the truth. And that's what we do every week when we check out some IMDb user reviews covering the whole spectrum. We're gonna hear from some people who hated the movie. We're gonna hear from some people who loved the movie. We're gonna hear from some people who were met on the movie. And we're gonna try to decipher their terrible grammar along the way. I'll start with Spudrick's review.
Nice.
I hope that is a parody of Sputnik. That'd be pretty on top of things. 10 out of 10. Why such bad reviews? Honestly, I have been waiting to watch this movie since 2017, and it finally came out, and I think it's great. Decently creepy, and just a real fun time. I do say that don't wait your money, just wait till it comes out on TV platform. Don't wait your money.
Don't wait. Don't wait.
Don't Tom Waits.
Working your biceps. 1 out of 18 found that helpful.
But that's like the ultimate dad review, though. That's what my dad would say if he went to see that movie. He'd be like, "It's all right. It's pretty good."
But, you know, a 10 out of 10, you think they'd be saying, drop everything and go see this movie, not don't waste your money.
Don't wait.
So, this person named I Know Good Films.
Well, so you know he's legit. Like, he knows good films.
You know he knows good films. So I know that I Know Good Films knows good films. 1 out of 10. The new X-Men? Exclamation. I remember a few years ago when, quote, the New Mutant... Wait, no, what the fuck? A few years ago when the, quote, New Mutants, not the New Mutants, get the fucking title right, was being advertised as, one word, the new X-Men for the new generation. Good grief, Charlie Brown. This wasn't that. I have to be honest here. From the first second to the last second, this was just subpar. It began with a quote, "We heard." I think it's meant to be say we've heard 1,000 times before, beginning with Sitting Bull, and most recently with Tomorrowland. ... And I don't care if you replace wolf with a bear or not. It's still just as cringy. In fact, 100 times more so. Then it just progressed into pure teen angst nonsense and terrible CGI and effects. Ended with a lackluster and totally anticlimactic ending. Good God, this is just awful. Maybe it was the online streaming superhero shoes like Titans.
Jake, you got a real selection here. I gotta say, all of these 1 out of 10 reviews, I'm browsing through them while you're trying to run through this thing, and my God, it's amazing.
God, I didn't read this before. I probably should have. Maybe it was the online streaming superhero shoes like Titans or Umbrella Academy or Runaways that made me expect more from this, but this was bar none the worst superhero movie or series I've ever seen. Yes, I'm including the original 1994 Fantastic Four. 36 out of 61 found that helpful.
Time out. Runaways increased his expectations for this movie?
Yeah. Titans? Whatever the fuck, Umbrella.
I'm starting to doubt that I Know Good Films knows good
Academy.
films.
Yeah, no. Runaways was like, fuck, this better live up to Runaways.
God, this better be as good as Runaways was. Holy shit, if
this ain't as good as Runaways, then...
If this falls short of Runaways, then I don't know what to tell you, man. It turns out I Know Good Films may know good films, but he does not know good grammar.
Holy shit, that was rough to get through.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, you're just spoiled for choice. I can't. I gotta just say some of these out here, just because like one of these that you got, it's like fucking, it's just called worst movie, and she says, "It's the worst movie ever I had watched in my life." And then that got 21 out of 49. Are you fucking with me?
It's concise.
All right. And then I have to follow up with this shit. I have to go Resident Grigo and his 6 out of 10 review. Let me put on my fucking cynical moviegoer nerd thing. At least Foxmen didn't end with Dark Phoenix. I don't know what that means.
Fox's take
But
on
it did.
X-Men.
It did end with Dark Phoenix.
Well, I guess this is technically an X-Men property by 20th Century Fox, so.
I guess. Okay.
Eh?
Anyways, I am happy to report that the Fox CU went out with a semi-competent shrug rather than poop in its pants. Dark Phoenix was rough, you all. The film's biggest problem is the lack of villain, which you can't have in a horror-inspired film. The isn't much of purpose either outside of a vague Logan tie-in, and the scope is smaller than even I thought. The protagonist wakes up in an asylum with other mutants. They get to know each other. A small-scale conflict starts, is then resolved, and the movie ends. You could easily cut this down to 60 minutes and get a shakily pilot for a Hulu show. Not the best way to bring this X-Men spin-off to life, but be glad we didn't get top-to-bottom reshoots the studio wanted. This easily could have been a second Fan 4 stick. It is not. The cast saved the film, but fuck those accents. The score ain't bad either. 6 out of 10, the film's gay romance works fine, by the way, and is an invention of the film. Kinda. 0 out of 5 found that helpful.
I mean, that seemed pretty level and, like, it's definitely the best review we've read so far today. Although that's kind of damning it with faint praise.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess function over form here. The aesthetics of this were not. I was like, I don't know, Kurt. I don't know. But yeah, what's some high praise for this movie, Kurt? What are these 10 out of 10 reviews? What more do they have to say about how amazing this movie is?
Well, I mean, Dylan Brown 50227 here has a 10 out of 10 review, and I think he really hits the nail on the head with this one. 10 out of 10. It's a mediocre movie. Submitted August 28, 2020. My honest opinion about the movie is it's a good film, but in another way, it's not a good film. Right now, for me, it's in between good and bad. It's just a mediocre movie with an interesting plot. I like the horror aspect of the film because it's pretty refreshing to see that in a superhero film. I don't think you would want to take a little kid to see this movie because it's not like your average PG-13 superhero movies. It has some pretty intense horror scenes that might leave an effect on some children. But overall, I think it's a mediocre film that you could go see in theaters. 0 out of 20 people found that helpful.
People went out of their way to be like, this was not helpful.
It's between good and bad. Some might say between a 1 and a 10.
If I would have to put this on a scale, a sliding scale of numbers per se, I'd probably give this a 5. But this boy deserves 10 out of 10.
You know, if I were,
I can't wait. I can't wait for the review where someone actually does that. Or like 10 out of 10. This is a 5 out of 10 film.
10 out of 10. Really, 5 out of 10. Didn't really like it that much.
submit to 10 out of 10, and then, you know how some put their score in the bottom. It's a 5 out of 10. It's like, what the fuck?
So I just want to put this out there as like honorary review for 1 out of 10. This junk they call a movie is like a blind man trying to herd cats. Utterly pointless. Avoid, avoid, avoid.
I like the one that's just, get your money back.
Get your money back. I want to do this one though.
Okay.
Okay, so I imagine this guy was like really waiting for this movie to come out. Edward Juan.
Dewan.
1 out of 10. So that's it? Waiting for almost 3 years just for this? That's the title. Wow. I mean, Could you imagine a movie that was projected in 2015, casting was done in 2016, and the filming was done in 2017, and then got delayed for...
That's a European decimal point. Okay, that's how they do it in Europe, Jake.
Wait, no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is how they do it.
Really?
Yeah, they use commas. Pretty much everywhere
No,
but
I
us
know.
use commas.
They literally switch the commas and periods.
Oh, okay, all right, that's a decimal point. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew they had that. I was thinking like, for some reason they were talking about 2,833 years.
That would be hilarious.
So 2.8333 years. And during the delay, there was no improvement in 2.8333 ... years, and they just went along with it. 2.8333 repeating years should be quite enough for a story's improvement. But guess it didn't work for this. Very disappointing. 7 out of 12 found that helpful.
Good shit.
They're just waiting.
They're just
Wanted
waiting.
Still waiting.
Wanted that to come out and be good.
For this world to stop hating.
All right, and now we have Shameless 519's 4 out of 10 review to finish her off here. Red boxing. Whack. There's a reason Stan Lee didn't make a cameo, and it's not because he passed.
What the fuck?
That's the topic sentence, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a strong
Let's go.
and controversial thesis.
Jeez. Jesus. It's like saying, I bet Black Panther 2 is not going to be very good. I bet.
Let me get to the end of this review, Jake.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Magic, the only saving grace of the movie. Hopefully we'll see more of this character in future films. Sunspot, bootleg Johnny Storm, Wolfsbane, a poor man's Wolverine, Cannonball, whose only power is to fly, yet he takes flight like a drunken kamikaze who inspires to be on. Jackass. Moonstar, whose power is later revealed in the movie, so I won't spoil that. I tell you their names in comics because otherwise it isn't revealed in the story. Admittedly, I didn't care much about this series, which IMO gives it a clean slate to wow since I have no expectations. But boy, did these ninjas disappoint. The movie could best be described as a psychological thriller version of Twilight meets every CW show ever. Who makes a superhero movie without a tangible villain? Hopefully this can be the start of something, but I can't say this is a franchise I'd care to invest much else in. This might have been a better as a TV show or even a stage play. If filming / production occurred in the midst of the Rona outbreak, I might be a little more lenient on the final product, but this was a film that added little to no value to the franchise. It's on par with the last Fantastic Four movie. Wakanda Forever, Rip Chadwick Boseman. 4 out of 6 found this helpful.
What kind of...
Wakanda forever.
Oh, geez.
Oh boy.
All right, so that's the New Mutants.
That's it.
Take from that what you can. And number 2, sliding down from its number 1 spot last week, is Fat Russell Crowe's thriller Unhinged, which is in
Last week's episode.
508
The reviews on that.
more. No, we did Unhinged 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago then.
We did Tesla last week.
That's right.
508 more theaters for Unhinged. Down 34%, 2.6 million. Bill and Ted Face the Music opened in 1,007 theaters and grossed $1.125 million. We'll probably take a look
I
at that.
heard it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also released on streaming, so that probably had a little bit to do with its diminished
okay, gotcha.
box office. The Personal History of David Copperfield, a movie we talked about what feels like 8 years ago on this show,
Yeah.
is finally out now, and it's doing not great. $475,000 in 1,300 theaters, $349 per theater take.
More theaters than Bill and Ted, and made less than half. Rough.
Words on Bathroom Walls slides from 3rd to 5th. It's the one about the dude diagnosed with mental illness halfway through his senior year, and then he falls in love with a manic pixie dream girl or something like that. In 471 more theaters, plus 3.7%, good enough for just a hair under $450,000. SpongeBob the movie, Sponge on the Run, or the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, I should say. 424 falls from 2nd to 6th. Cutthroat City falls from 5th to 7th, down 33%, $161,000. The $118,000, 832 per theater take, so it's living up to his name there. The 800.
The 800. 108.
That movie is about, or it's from the acclaimed filmmaker behind Mr. Six, a movie I've never heard of. Comes a riveting war epic. In 1937, 800 Chinese soldiers fight under siege from a warehouse in the middle of Shanghai battlefield, completely surrounded by the Japanese army. Well, I'll give it credit. It's a different take on a World War II era film.
Brought to you by the infamous CMC Pictures Holdings. Disney probably owns them.
I would doubt that somehow. Peninsula in 9th, down from 7th, $92,000. And rounding out the top 10 is The Tax Collector. Hanging on there.
It's
Another $69,000. That movie has made $942,000 in how many weeks? 4 weeks.
4. Oh, good.
Man, I hope actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf gets a good payout for that.
Yeah, I mean, he did get a tattoo for that.
Yeah, he deserves it.
And I know many of you are wondering, okay, that's all well and good, but I don't really care about those movies. Tell me how Dark Christmas or Raccoon Christmas 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark is doing. And sadly, it is no longer in theaters.
No!
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
Wow, the internet has really changed me. I thought the movie The Grizzlies was the Glizzies for a second.
Well, yesterday, the movie Tulsa opened right above the movie Tesla. And it took me longer than I care to admit to discern that this was not a typo. And these were, in fact, 2 different movies. All right, well, there's the follow-up. Let's move on to gaming news. And it's a big week for gaming news.
Before we do gaming news, while we're on the topic of movies, I did see that the Batman movie stopped production due to a COVID. Somebody on the cast, maybe high up, getting COVID. So expect delays, or I don't know. It seems like a shutdown for the moment.
Oh no! Whatever will I do without getting
know.
the Batman?
We need the Batman. We need Robin
You get the Batman or the Rona?
Robin Pattinson to be the Batman.
You could be the Batman, Bruce.
You could be
I don't know. I'm excited for it.
So, big week in gaming news. Sony wants to bring more first-party games to the PC. 2020 corporate report cites PC gaming as a competitor, but I guess due to the success of Horizon Zero Dawn making the jump, despite its very bad port.
Yeah. Wait. Success? I haven't bought it because
Financial success.
it has issues.
Enough people were willing to slum it out, I guess. We will explore expanding our first-party titles to the PC platform, says the report, in order to promote further growth in our profitability. The decision brings more of Sony's in-house gaming catalog to the PC, is cited as a key strategic point coming off the direction of its game and network services division. So, I'd be down for that if I can get like Spider-Man and God of War on PC. That'd be swell. Twitch is shutting down Twitch Sings at the end of the year.
We're out of a job, boys.
For reasons. I mean, it's only been out for like a year or two. Like it seems pretty recent that it launched.
The fuck is Twitch?
It's
Sings?
a karaoke game that you can go online and do silly stuff. It's actually pretty well put together. But like they use bad MIDI tracks for the things, and it's like I swear to God, some of the songs are in a completely different key than the original version.
You can recreate GJs in your own house.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, Twitch has confirmed it's closing Twitch Sings at the end of the year. From December 1st, 2020, Twitch says it will begin removing Twitch Sings videos, clips, and highlights, while the service itself will end on January 1st, 2021. So they're going to take down videos of it. I got to imagine there's some sort of legal issue at the core of this. In a FAQ, the company said it has been inspired by the talent and passion of its fans, but it's decided to invest in broader tools and services to support the music community on its streaming platform.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
That doesn't...
I did not close it. I did not close it down.
I did
Twitch.
not. Hi, Mixer.
Buy a mixer.
Hello Games' Sean Murray gave an interview on the studio's next No Man's Sky sized game. Best known for Hello Games, best known for the controversial but eventually decent No Man's Sky. Has been working on a few other games. Just last week, they released The Last Campfire, a adventure puzzle game in the style of The Legend of Zelda, but sans combat. But that's not the only project they've been working on. Last week, Sean Murray, the studio's founder, spoke with Polygon about the team's desire to keep making new non-sequelized projects, including a title Murray describes as a huge, ambitious game like No Man's Sky. Hello Games' shift to smaller projects may have been a surprise given the success of No Man's Sky, but they have their reasons for that. I guess the big question here is, how much did they learn from No Man's Sky? Are they going to be wise enough not to overpromise and underdeliver at launch? Again, I really hope they learned their lesson.
I think they did. The way I've heard the story go down, the way like they talk about Sean, it feels like the kind of thing where he came out of this as a different person. Like it was sort of an earnest, like he was just promising shit because this was his first time with a big style game, and the media was like, does it have this shit? Can we do this? Can we do all this stuff? Are you gonna have like real time poop physics? And he's like, sure, okay, yeah, sure. But he's like, fuck. And then, because he basically handled, from what I can tell, he basically handled the whole thing. He's like, I'll just take all this shit for a couple of years. Don't say anything on Twitter. You guys just fix the game. We'll go dark. We'll just go dark and we'll do it. And that's how it became sort of good again. So I think maybe I would say at this point, if you were me, I would even be a little bit like cynical at this point. I'm just like, here, the game's going to come out. I'm not going to tell you shit.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what happened last time?
of...
We got fucked.
I mean, he did hype it up as being very large and ambitious. But if that's like the extent of it, I kind of root for them. They're a newer studio. No Man's Sky was really a very, very ambitious project. And, it didn't work out great in the beginning, but they, to their credit, they stuck with it. They supported it. And now it's closer to the game that was promised, if not all the way there. And, it's inspiring. It was the biggest comeback story of the year.
Mm-hmm. And it's the kind of game that basically it's the formulative game for your company that like sets the policy and the tone of your company and how it's going to operate. Like I think about LucasArts and when they made the Scum engine, right? And they're just like, here, Maniac Mansion was a huge formative game. That was for mechanical reasons. Same sort of thing with like Mario 64, formative for mechanical reasons, design reasons. This one, it's a little different. It's formative for more culture and policy reasons, but it's the kind of thing where you're like, this is burned into my company's memory forever, and this should, with any luck, it should inform the rest of their career.
Speaking of Mario 64, Nintendo is bringing 3 classic Mario games to the Switch in a bid to boost some holiday sales. Those games will be 1996's Super Mario 64, 2002 Super Mario Sunshine, and 2007 Super Mario Galaxy. The games will all be bundled into a package that Nintendo is calling Super Mario 3D All-Stars and will retail for a full fat $60 for games that range from being 24 to 13 years old.
Yep.
Oh,
I saw a meme and it sort of resonated with me. Because I don't know how Nintendo in general, like the fandom, react to this, but it seemed that they got big pop because if you know the context, they've been like thirsty. They have been thirsty for like mainline Nintendo content for a long time. They're like, these fucking mini directs, I hate them. God, I just want an actual direct. And then they got the actual direct, and like, so I assume they're fucking leaping off the walls. But I saw this meme, and it was it's them like losing their shit over Super Mario, like gaining 64, getting a couple pixels, getting like a up-res just a little bit, but looking basically the same.
Yeah.
And then Smash cuts that with the Spyro remakes, where they just revamped the whole fucking graphic style.
I also saw that meme. Although, in the interest of fairness, Spyro was a remake. This is a remaster. They're very different things. Remasters, they just re-render the engine at whatever resolution. So it's like downloading Project 64 with your Super Mario 64 ROM and increasing the internal render size to 1080p or whatever. They didn't like go through and redo textures and make new meshes and stuff like that. But yeah, the Spyro remake, where they remade the game from the ground up, cost $40. And this collection of games that I assume just upscaled and slapped a port together for the Switch, is going to retail for $60 and will only be available, so they say. I don't know if they're like Disney and they're going to put this in the fucking vault, but supposedly it will be released on a limited basis from September 18th, 2020 until March 31st, 2021.
Yay, manufactured scarcity.
Yeah. So Nintendo is the Apple of video games. Their stuff retains its value for so long. Like if you go and look, and not even like like when it gets to the point where like it's a collector's piece, right? Like, the GameCube's old enough now where all GameCube games are going to be at a premium because it's collector stuff. But like even during the 6th generation of consoles, I remember like going in to a GameStop in like 2004 or 2005 and seeing that a used copy of Super Mario Sunshine was still selling for like $45. And I'm like, this game is 3 years fucking old.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Nintendo is
how,
hooked into
like,
something.
good it is.
Their model is so unique. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
They can play the game like no one else.
Because hardcore Nintendo fans would buy literal shit if it had the Nintendo logo slapped on it.
Nintendo's the supreme of
Truly, it is.
game
Like
companies. Yeah.
And only Nintendo
So
can get
it's
away
3
with
games.
this. It's pretty.
3 games for $60, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
3
3 games that range from 24 to 13 years old. Now, I'm not saying that that's a terrible value. They're all pretty decently long games with a lot of replay value. And if you want them on the Switch, that's fine. The issue is that these games are so old and they've been re-released so many times that chances are you already have them. And it's not like they did much to rescale it. Like the virtual console version of Super Mario 64 on the Wii looks pretty much the same as this version on the Switch, and the Wii virtual console version only costs like $10. So even if you say, okay, well, it's 3 games, you divide the price of $60 by a third for that, they're charging you double for the same fucking thing.
I guess as somebody who doesn't have any old consoles, I can sort of see the appeal because I don't have any of the old consoles. The only thing I have is 3DS, which I don't know which one that has.
It has fucking 3D World.
Yeah. So like, I mean, 64 maybe not so much, but like the big seller to me, honestly, is Sunshine, because that was my ish back in the day.
Of course, and that's how they're gonna get people. Is like they want the one game that they played. So you get the others.
So here's the thing about,
and this is also the other thing is it's not Wind Waker HD. Wind Waker HD upgraded some things, made quality of life changes. I haven't seen any evidence that this is going to go the same way.
Yeah, and the other thing about this is that, you know, for whatever legal gray area this occupies, but technically, if you purchased a retail copy of Super Mario Sunshine, you're entitled to rip the ROM for archival purposes. And Dolphin and Project 64 are 2 of the most realized and fully functional emulators out there. And all 3 of these games are playable on those, and you can crank the internal resolution for better graphics and 60 frames per second, which maybe they can hit on these because these are old ass games, and it's
it's capped at 30. That's what they said.
All right, well, fuck that. You can play it at 60 frames per second, at 4K even if you want, 8K if you're feeling froggy, and
on the new graphics card.
I gotta get the new 3090 to play that Mario Sunshine on 8K.
You can probably play Mario Sunshine at 8K on like a 1080 Ti. I'm pretty confident about that. Don't think it's really that demanding. But I guess we'll talk about NVIDIA's announcement now. So last week, or earlier this week, I should say, NVIDIA gave their GeForce Now keynote and revealed to the world the top 3 cards of their Ampere architecture line. So we have the 3090, 3080, and 3070. They retail for $14.99, $6.99, and $4.99 respectively. Now, there were rumors, like the leaks for Ampere have been real. They've been floating around for a while, and there were rumored prices. And thankfully, I guess NVIDIA's worried that AMD might present some good competition with RDNA 2. They lowered the price of the 3080 from what the leak said. It was supposedly going to retail for $8.99, but now it's retailing for $6.99 MSRP, which I was like, that's a pretty good deal. But it's still kind of expensive. That's about what the 1080 Ti released at. And that was a titanium edition on the 80 series card. 3070 at $500. That's kind of expensive for a 70 series card. I mean, that's about what a 2070 Super's going for, and apparently it's faster than a 2080 Ti. They're claiming some big generational leaps, and I was a little skeptical because they really mentioned ray tracing a lot. So when they made a claim, it was like, oh, it's twice as the 3080 is twice as fast as the 2080. I was like, well, maybe in ray tracing. But then NVIDIA dropped a video on YouTube that came to my attention late a couple nights ago. And it was a video of Doom Eternal being played at 4K on the 2080 Ti and on the 3080. And the 2080 Ti was getting around like 9. And Doom Eternal's not the hardest game in the world to run. But the 2080 at 4K was getting respectable, like 85, 90 frames per second on average. But then the 3080 was getting like averaging 130 something plus frames per second, and that made me go, wow, okay, maybe there's something to this here. So I'm looking forward. I've already put things in place to purchase a 3080 when it launches on September the 17th. It'll be an early birthday present from me to me. And I'm pretty excited about it. And not only from the gameplay perspective, like this is going to be able to crush every game I throw at it at 1440p, 144 frames per second. But from the rendering perspective, I do a lot of GPU rendering, and this has 8,000 CUDA cores on it. And NVIDIA has not changed the definition of what a CUDA core is. And for context, the 1080 Ti I have now has 3,500 CUDA cores. So this is more than double the amount of CUDA cores. And even the 3070 has like 5,200 CUDA cores on it. Like these are...
The fuck is a CUDA core?
It's a graphics processing unit used to rasterize images.
Okay.
And there are certain editing applications that use it in the video encoding process to speed things up.
How many megapixels fit on a CUDA core?
Many. The 3090 is promising the ability to play 8K games at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
I would
That's crazy.
sure hope so at that price.
Yeah, at one, at that price, and two, also like I mean, how many people have like 8K monitors, and how many games can even run
8K
8K?
is stupid. Don't worry about 8K.
It's like I get it. It's future proofing, in a sense, so that's kind of nice. But like out of the box, you're probably not going to be able to utilize.
So
it to
here's
its
the thing
maximum
about
performance.
8K and resolution in general, where it's like at a certain distance, it all kind of normalizes to the average person's vision. An average person with 20/20 vision, at a certain distance away, it becomes very difficult to distinguish the difference between certain resolution scales. Now, where that changes is with PPI, right? So, if you recall, when 1080p was this television standard, you didn't see many TVs above like 60 inches, right? Because that was like the biggest screen you could get at 1080p without it looking like complete and utter garbage. Now that 4K has become a little more standard, you're seeing a lot more TVs that are 70 inches, 80 inches, crazy sizes like that. So, but at your couch distance, let's say your couch is 6 feet away from your TV, and you have a 80-inch 4K TV, and then you replace that with an 80-inch 8K TV, you're not forgetting the fact that there's like no 8K content out there. You're not really going to be able to see a very appreciable difference between the 4K and 8K at that distance. If you're right up on close on it, if you're like right in front of it, yeah, you're probably going to be able to see a little bit, but it's super diminishing returns at that point.
Right.
But you get the satisfaction of knowing that it's running.
Well, the thing about it, if it can run 8K at 60
That's
frames
the
per
weird- that's the
second,
weird
it's
part.
going to be able to run 4K
Yeah.
at like 200 or at least 140
Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly suggesting you go out and buy a 3090, but I'm saying that if you are a super enthusiast, it's gonna last you a good long time.
Your FPS is gonna be off the charts.
Also,
with this stuff.
the big thing here is, one of the other big things is that Ampere's living up to its name. These cards are going to draw a ton of power. The rated TDP for the 3090 is 370 watts. For context, the 1080 Ti was 250 watts.
Wow.
NVIDIA recommends an 850 watt power supply for the 3090. They recommend a 750 for the 3080 because that draws 320 watts, which is a lot. I have a 650. I'm probably going to need to upgrade my power supply. But the 3070, which I think is the card that most people should buy. Because really, most people, you're gaming at 1440p, maybe 1080p is still the most common resolution, and a 3070 will be able to run pretty much any game you throw at a 1080p at like 200 frames per second, probably, assuming you're not CPU bound. For $500, that's a pretty good amount, and it has a very reasonable TDP, only 220 watts, so you're probably not going to have to upgrade your power supply. You can probably run that on a 500 watt power supply if your the rest of your system isn't too beefy. So like Peter, for example, you could probably run that on without having to upgrade your anything else in your system. And that'd be certainly a good upgrade for you. I don't know if you're at the point where you're like, yeah, $500 on a video card's fine.
Slap it down.
You can maybe pick up a deal on a used 3070 Super or 2070 Super like that, or wait for the 3060, see how that comes out. I think the success or failure of this generation is really going to hinge on that 3060 though, because again, $500 for a 70 series card, it's a lot of money. The 1070 MSRP was only $379, and the 970 was $329. So like this is quite a big jump. Now, granted,
Yeah, it's a jump
Turing
everywhere.
turned everything on its head because the prices for Turing were fucking nuts. Because the ray tracing, they forced the early adopter tax onto everyone for ray tracing, even though a lot of people don't care about ray tracing. I still don't care about ray tracing. There's a finite improvement that can be gained in the visuals of your games through ray tracing because it's all just lighting effects. That's all it is lighting. And developers have gotten really
nothing
good
crazy
at
about it.
faking the lighting for many years. Now, in the future, if ray tracing is standard on everything and it's good, perhaps developers can offload all the lighting onto the hardware end and they'll free up space in the engine for other stuff. But I really wouldn't hold my breath on that. Ray tracing, kind of not too excited about this. But this launch does have me excited. I think the 3070 is a fantastic card. It's going to be the price to performance king for a long time. And I'd say that's the one I recommend buying for most people. If you have a 4K 100 hertz monitor, yeah, the 3080 is probably going to be more in line with you. If you're a guy who does a lot of GPU-based rendering like me, the 3080 is also a compelling option. I don't recommend anyone buy the 3090 unless you have to have the latest and greatest and you have a lot of extra money lying around, because $1,500 for, and this is a triple slot card. Founders Edition is the triple slot card. That is fucking. Jens called it the BF GPU when he showed it off. It's a
when they fucking pulled the thing out.
it's
oh
a
my God.
hulking massive card, and it needs a new power connector. It uses a 12-pin power connector, which I hear adapters off 2 8-pins. Maybe even 3, because I've seen some add-in board partner cards for the, not even the 3090, for the 3080 that have 3 8-pin connectors on it.
Yeah, and
Moore's
like,
law
and,
is just
and,
fucking sweating right now.
And just thinking about that stuff with like, on top of getting that, you have to make sure that you're not your rig is not bottlenecking anywhere, that you're not bottlenecking in like your CPU department, your motherboard. Again, you'll have to get a new power supply most likely if it's rated for what you have currently, unless you're, for some reason, you just like had a massive power supply.
Well, at one point, power supplies weren't that expensive, so a lot of people overbought. But now, because of COVID and tariffs, like when I've been looking at power supplies, and you used to be able to get like a 750 watt for like $80, a nice 750 watt, but now that's like $130. So it's hard. I'm looking on eBay for deals on a power supply. So it's a rough market to release these into, which is another reason why I really think the 3070 is the star of the show here. That will be available sometime in October. The 3090 will release on September 24th, and the 3080 will release on September 17th. So we're all pretty excited about this Ampere launch. It seems like it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Big hype.
And it's exciting if they're concerned about AMD. I'm excited to see what AMD's.
Yeah, Big
with
Navi
next
should be
generation. And see how
interesting.
it's gonna-
I'd be more interested in AMD if I didn't fucking buy a G-Sync monitor. Now I'm kind of locked into NVIDIA until I'm ready to change my monitor.
Hooray!
But that's
The wonders of modern hardware and software.
yeah, that's me. That's my dumb decision. PS5 backwards compatibility will not support PS3, PS2, or PS1 games, according to Ubisoft. So there were some rumors that it could play the entire PlayStation library of games.
No one does that. Wow. Yeah.
But no. But this wasn't a great surprise. The promise was backwards compatibility for the PS4 and nothing else. So,
Right.
you know, it would have been nice.
I'm not an expert on this. Yeah. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I understand that, the further you go back, it does prove a significant challenge to do it, and the cost benefit just isn't there.
Yeah, it depends on the implementation. So, like with the Xbox One, for instance, like it doesn't read anything off the disc. So all previous Xbox 360 and original Xbox games that are supported by the Xbox One are available to purchase on the store. So they've been ported over to the Xbox One. So they're like basically new versions of the game.
Like virtual console,
Yeah.
kind of.
And your disc that you put in there basically just gives you a license to download that. And you have to have the disc in there for it to pass your DRM check. So, like, for example, when I play Knights of the Old Republic on my Xbox One, I have to have that disc in there. Otherwise, it'll be like, please insert your disc to make sure that you own this game. But I know the PS3 implementation of backwards compatibility actually put the SoC from the PS2 onto the board, and it added a lot of cost. So if that's Sony's method, because they don't want to do software emulation or actually go through the time and port these games over, which would be one, limits the backwards compatibility catalog. There aren't a ton of Xbox 360 and original Xbox games available on the Xbox One for that reason. And number two, takes a lot of time and resources. Then I can see them dropping it. Like the PS5 and PS4 architecturally are very similar, I'm sure. So that's an easy jump to make. They both use x86 instruction sets and all that. But if you go back to the PS3, that's whatever cell processor garbage they were doing. And I don't even know what the PS2 was. And PS1 also mystery box.
No one's going to fucking, like, PlayStation is not going to sell. They're not going to make 15-year-old hardware for games that they don't sell. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not what's going to pull people. People who want to play PS3 games probably still have their PS3. That shit stays.
At what point do you think they're gonna stop caring about backwards compatibility?
Last
To
generation.
all the way to
The PS4
Yeah,
was not
like-
backwards compatible at all. And
Oh, really?
Xbox really took advantage of that because backwards compatibility is important. That's one of the reasons why PC gaming is so great, is you have your catalog of games. Like I have games from as far back as 1994 that I can run on my machine with no issue whatsoever, and games as recent as 2020 that I can run on my machine with no issues whatsoever. So it's important to a lot of
Not
people.
2021.
They haven't come out yet. It's important to a lot of people that
Yeah, we
have
should probably stream.
those titles, and it is an add-in value. It gives you a game library, and you don't have to have a bunch of different machines taking up space in your entertainment system.
No, very true.
That being said, to Peter's point, it's not going to make or break many people's decisions on what they buy. I don't think anyone who's looking at a PS5 is going to see this news and be like, well, I'm out now. I'm going to buy the Series X.
Yeah.
Because I think most people who buy consoles, I think a lot of them are understanding that, I feel like early on in the video game world, it was easy to be like, I'm done with video games, put them away, do other stuff, and then they're like, oh, those games I played as a kid, I still want to play them, they're great, and they go back and they want them. But like nowadays, people are like, no, I'm gonna hold on to this for a while because these games are gonna go away, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah, there'll be collectors things, and they'll gain value.
Right.
Video game collecting's big now. I think we've
People know
seen
to hold on to that shit.
a huge influx in collectors, or maybe I've just been watching more collector videos. I don't know. Sometimes I get confused with what's real and what's just my YouTube algorithm telling me what's real.
And to your point, Jake, about backwards compatibility, I think once everyone's finished, they're basically about finished now, putting the entire games collection virtually. And then backwards compatibility becomes an update patch for old games.
Yeah.
We're saying we're going to patch this to go with the new hardware.
So that's Xbox's
Or something similar.
That's Xbox's model here. Is like when Peter was saying like Sony's not going to go through the trouble of like putting hardware in so people can play games they don't sell anymore. Xbox and PlayStation does this too to some extent. Their backwards compatibility model is we're going to put this game on our store so people will buy it again. But if you already bought it, we'll honor the fact that you bought it. Which I think Sony could implement if they're going to start selling more of these games on their platforms. Like the PS3 could play PS1 games. All versions of the PS3 could play PS1 games. Only some versions, early versions, have the PS2 compatibility on it. But they sold PS1 and PS2 games on their store. And if Sony starts selling, I don't know if they did sell like virtually PS3 games on their store on the PS4, or if it was just remastered collections. That seems to be their method of bringing these older games onto newer platforms, is just re-releasing them physically so people buy them again.
To mixed results.
Yeah, the mixed results.
Yeah. Anything else to say on this? Because
No, not on this.
I don't know if you have. Do you have any game reviews this week, Kurt?
No. I'm still been kind of busy.
I have a very quick product review. First impressions review, you might call it. I was at a friend's house last week, or after our show last week, and I had the chance to play the Oculus Quest for a little bit. Buddy had it, so I played a little bit of Beat Saber and the Super Hot demo, and I must say it's quite enjoyable. It's a fairly fun thing. It does not. So the Oculus Quest again does not use the room calibrators. It doesn't use the posts.
It's a lower end
right.
VR headset. My sister has a Quest, and it's okay. When she brought it over, when she came over around Christmas last year, I also got a chance to play with it a little bit. And like, this is neat, but I don't think it's quite there yet for me, where I'm going to invest a bunch of money into VR. The Index, if it weren't $1,000 fucking dollars, seems like it's closer, but it's also $1,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah, and let me put it. I think here's how I would recommend the Quest, at least. Maybe not the Index, because you also need good hardware for that, because it hooks up to your computer. The Quest, as far as I understand, it's pretty independent.
Yeah, I think it has an onboard. It's like a Tegra 3 or some sort of mobile chip.
Okay, because he brought it over, and I didn't see him hook it up to a computer, so I have to assume it's just independent. If you're not a computer fanatic, right, and you're looking at this news of the new graphic card coming out, and if you're going to be a whale and be like, I want to buy the 3060, right? You're going to buy the fucking 3060, but you don't know, like, you're just buying it just because, just go buy an Oculus Quest instead. It's the same price. It's like $450. You'll get something that will more directly appeal to you, unless you see, if you're really interested in like actually having a good spec computer, fine, get the card. But if you're just a kind of trend chaser if you're not really going for it. Just go get a cool new
I mean, if you're
machine.
into VR, I think we should
Yes,
say.
if you're into VR.
If you're not really into VR, then I guess it doesn't make sense to buy a VR headset.
No, fuck
if you,
them. No, if you're not into VR, get into VR right now. It's the future of gaming, you twat.
For me, if I got the Oculus Quest, it would be a $450 machine that plays Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. As I said, since we reviewed that movie, the only reason I would get VR, the primary reason for me to get VR would be to watch that movie in 3D.
Wait, can you watch?
I don't know, but I would assume so. Sony made the movie. Sony also made their PlayStation VR, PSVR. I would hope, it was my hope since the movie started, would be that if you can simulate a fucking 3D space, you should be able to simulate a 3D movie, give at least a basic depth of field effect.
Yeah.
And if you could, I feel like, I don't know if they do that already, but I feel like they could do like a theater app where it just spawns a generic sort of, if they want to really fluff it up, they put a theater sort of space around you and a screen that plays movies in 3D. And you could sit there and watch Into the Spider-Verse on your headset in 3D.
That's an interesting point.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that if that's not already a feature of VR headsets, if it's a capability of the hardware, which in my head at least it should be, I don't see a reason why they couldn't do that. Although I'm not a hardware engineer.
I mean, YouTube does 360 video on some videos. If you have your mobile app, you can, like, sometimes you hit a video and you're like, wait, oh, it's gyroscopic video.
Pornhub does that too.
Yeah.
Pornhub leads the way.
The porn industry has been an innovator in technology for as long as we've been alive. But yeah, I feel like that's a selling point because they don't really make 3D TVs anymore. That was a gimmick they tried, but it didn't really have a lot of adoption. And as TVs get better and better, like you're gonna have to do without that feature. So I think that's an opportunity. That's a product space that VR can really fill in to the 3D movie enthusiast as another market to sell their product to, because not everyone's into video games.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone wants to play Beat Saber.
Yeah, this speaks to this sort of prophecy that we've been hyping up for years, like this vague, like, something's gonna happen, something's gonna fucking be the key piece, and I just see more signs, like, China wants 3D movies, China wants doing the new video game stuff. The movie industry wants 3D movies. Everyone's trying to move towards VR. It kind of wants to coalesce into. We're getting closer to the critical point,
nexus,
I think. Where all the trends, once we get the fucking killer app, which Alex is close. It's one of them. But once we have something, or once the price, like you said, we've been talking about prices. Once the price passes the critical, people will buy it for Christmas point. Mm-hmm. Then you're gonna see shit just go.
If you can
go
get
wild.
a VR experience like you can with the Index for the price of a Quest, I think that's, once the technology matures to that point, I think that's where you're going to see large scale adoption.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, a lot of streamers have that stuff now. You know, between that and, so facial recognition, facial modification, AR. Oh, I want to talk about that quick. Sorry. We will get to our Lupin third review, but there is one more app that I need to talk about because we're talking about AR right now, and that is Mario Kart Home Circuit.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. How did we forget that? Jeez, yeah.
So Nintendo has been branching slightly into AR toys with their Labio.
Labia?
Yeah, the Nintendo Labia. It's got a mic. Anyways, so yes, it's two RC cars that are controlled by your controller.
All right.
They have a small camera.
Point of
them.
order. I have a problem with them calling it RC cars because they are not radio controlled. The Switch, to my knowledge, has no radio transmitter.
Right. So WC,
I guess.
water closet cars.
BC
Is it
Bluetooth controlled cars.
Yeah,
is
Bluetooth
it
cars.
Bluetooth or is it Wi-Fi? Okay, Bluetooth
I don't
cars.
know. But either way, they are remote controlled.
Yeah.
And you control them remotely. Cars where the camera projects. You can see the camera from your screen, and it also projects if you set up the goals. It has physical arches where you can draw a track. I'm assuming between all of that, and I'm sure they've worked out a lot of the details. But you can simulate a Mario Kart circuit in your own home. That is
assuming you
the
have a large amount of
long
space.
short. And solid
you
wood
have a
floors,
home.
because goddamn, my shag carpet is gonna be. It's just like driving through the grass. It's like if fucking Mario Kart was just all grass.
It's
no,
Mario Kart Rally.
Oh my! Why they should do that for a fucking game? They should have put that. They should have made Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart Rally, where you could use the fucking Wiimote to simulate the fucking
waiting for
bucking Bronco that is a rally car steering wheel.
I'm waiting for somebody to go through it and change the gear ratio inside the actual car to make it go faster.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
then
or
just
just
cheat
switch
the
out
game.
the camera. Put
Switch out take it apart, put a higher horsepower motor into it, and just really overdrive
Exactly.
the fucking thing so that crank the RPM so much that the axle starts to melt because it gets too hot.
Or you could just have people just straight up cannibalizing all of it and making their own ARC. We'll call it ARC games. Augmented remote controlled cars. And you could do it with some. RC is already a pretty deep field.
Oh, there are a lot of
Pretty deep hobby.
enthusiasts. I could see a crossover to a guy who's really into RC cars and Nintendo games. Those 6 people, who's I'm gonna fucking trick out. I'm gonna harvest the internals that I need from that car and put in my top of the line awesome RC car, and I'm just gonna dominate Mario Kart.
So a lot of potential. And again, it's AR. It's AR, and it's another step in this singularity. I'll
it's
call
a
it
cool
the VR
idea.
singularity, because I got to put a name to this thing.
I'd have to see. We'd have to see how it works and how well it works. But it's a cool idea, and I hope they expand on it.
Yeah, Labo worked better than I expected it to. So
Yeah.
I have faith that if they're going to put this out, it's going to be decent. Of course, this is the same company that gave you the Virtual Boy, so not all of their pilot programs are a success. But
I would think that they have a little more R&D this time around.
you know what they say about those who assume? They watch Lupin the Third.
Watch Lupin the Third.
The Castle of Colostomy.
Caliglia.
Caliglio.
Castle of Caliglia.
Cagney and Lacey. Castle of Cagney
Yeah, this
and
guy
Lacey.
was rapey as fuck. Were they related?
So you're talking about let's lay down the premise of this movie. Lupin, the famous thief, and canonically he's the grandson of Arsène Lupin, which was a 1920s 30s black and white film star. He was a character in the films. He was a master thief in Europe. He was French.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly his grandson, who goes on hilarious capers. This is a worldwide famous sort of series. You go to Italy, you can find his merch fucking everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. Same thing in a lot of countries. But anyways, he goes to a small European nation, 3,500 people.
Smallest
in the fucking
member
whole
of the
nation.
United Nations.
That's literally Alfred. He goes to Alfred, and there's a castle. There's a princess, and I guess the daughter of the Grand Duke and the Count. They are not related, but
Okay, good.
she's being forced to marry him for dubious purposes.
Yeah.
She does not want to marry him.
So it's not incest; it's just rapey,
Okay.
and weirdly,
'Cause
and big
they did
age
have the
difference
same
because
hair
she's
color.
she's like 8. She's just barely legal.
Yeah, it's just because they have the same hair color, and he kept on talking about their family, reuniting their family.
Right.
And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do they share a common ancestor?
No.
Like a couple
I mean, in a
generations
country
back?
of only 3,500 people, I'm sure somewhere along the line they have to.
I think so. I think that this might be a little incestual. But hey,
Well,
you know,
he
keep
never
it in the
planned to
family.
have
what I
sex
say.
with her. He was gonna kill her, like as soon as he got what he
Well,
wanted.
you never know. He could have fallen in love.
I don't.
It was
And
very
so could
clearly
she.
not the case. This movie.
He loves his
A girl
fake
can
money.
dream.
He loves his money laundering scheme that he was running out of his
Yeah, he was
basement.
counterfeiting bill. So like, I'll just briefly touch on this because I'm the guy you expect to come in here and give this a negative review, and I'd say it's okay as far as these types of movies go. It's better than most of the Miyazaki movies I've seen in terms of being able to hold my interest. I didn't really like start to tune out until an hour in, which is a lot quicker than it happens with like Spirited Away or Kiki's Delivery Service, where I'm like 20 minutes in, I'm like, okay, this movie's been on for 8 hours. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is it does have pacing issues, like a lot of Miyazaki movies do, at least for me, where it just feels like it drags on forever and ever, even though it's only been an hour. I had to like stop at certain intervals to like get up and take a break, like I was watching The fucking Irishman, but this was a good half of the
Yeah.
length of that. But the story itself is fine, and the animation's well done, especially considering that this movie is from 1979.
Wow. Yeah. That is pretty impressive. I have to say that is incredibly impressive.
And
And it's creative too.
Yeah.
Let me say that, because like the visuals aren't. They're trying to really use the medium of animation to be like, why not just make it a fanciful castle tower, and why not make her like the thing that stuck out to me, the first, one of the big ones I saw was the daughter's room. It's not just a bedroom. It's like a big ass dome with like a mural all the way around it and pillars, and she's in like a bed in the middle of it. And it's like they could have made a bedroom.
It took a lot of fantasy elements, but it also took like a lot of like storybook elements of the princess kept away in a castle, locked away, and then literally somebody, the knight in shining armor, has to come save
Yeah.
her. But like an anime twist on it, which is what I like.
It's a good
one thing that
D&D
stuck out to me-
campaign. Like many movies
Yeah.
I like.
True. Yeah.
Right? It's your rogue, it's a warrior or monk, a fighter or monk,
Yeah.
a ranger, and I don't know what Fujiko is. She's fucking something. She's got
Sexy.
machine guns. She's just here.
she's
She's the
fucking
machine
launched
gun
from
grenade.
Dragon Ball.
It's true.
Yeah. But the one thing I liked, I don't know if it was because I was like just really sleepy and like really in tune with the elements of this movie, but I really like the sound effects. This first scene that got me was the birds chirping, and them setting the scene of like driving through that countryside, and you hear the birds chirping, and it's like a perfect day, and I'm like, this is so
Yeah,
fucking
the sound
peaceful.
design
I
is
want to go to Europe
is a
now.
strong
I want to
point.
go on
Yeah.
the Rhine and go on castle tours in Germany.
Yeah.
Isn't this so fucking quaint?
Go to Ireland. It's like upstate New York,
It
but
is.
there's castles every few feet.
Hey.
The point of contention, the Irish Highlands are a part of the Appalachian Mountains. Just saying that.
There's a reason so many Irish people settled in the northeast of the United States. It looked very much like home.
Home to me. Yeah, like the plot, I wouldn't call it anything novel.
No,
Lupin the Third is never. They're not known for their not like he doesn't. They never do anything interesting. Not interesting, but they don't do anything wild with the story in any of their stuff, really. Which is sort of its appeal. It's very much because there's a 5-part series that many movies are spun off of, and that series is basically just like it's sort of an afternoon cartoon show. You just turn it on, you just watch it, and it's like, boom, episodes, cool. What a show.
But do you think back in '79 this was more intriguing?
Maybe.
More novel?
I mean, it's
Maybe.
still a pretty basic, like, rescue the princess from the castle sort of story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost in the vein of The Princess Bride,
There's
where it's
counterfeit
just
money.
it's very distinctly not trying to do anything crazy. Like there are some he's a trickster, he's a tricky guy. It's not like Ocean's 11 level of like,
Yeah, it's
I
not
just fucking spun the whole thing around on
It's not
ya."
like a heist sort of thing. So, like, if you're really going to get hung up on the fact that he's supposedly a master thief, you're going to have some issues reconciling the events of this movie because other than a brief thing in the beginning, they don't really do any thieving. And, like, he's, at least in the dub, the streamlined dub, he's not super interested into the treasure either. So, like,
He's very much a dashing rogue.
It's more
in
of just
this.
an adventure
Yeah.
story, and it does like when it's going along, it really does the action well. The issue being is that it has, like Peter said, it has like a bunch of climaxes where you have a lot of action and then it falls off a cliff and it's very slow, and then there's more action and then it falls off a cliff. And it's very hard to take it all in at once, I guess. Like it feels like 3 separate episodes of a Lupin anime condensed into this movie.
Because there's all right, so I feel like there is 3 because there's the his first meeting, or I guess there's the opening action sequence. There's the hook, which is the car chase. There's always a fucking car chase in every one of these movies. It's great. Then you have him sneaking his way in to see the princess for the first time, right?
Going
Yeah.
through the aqueducts.
Yep.
Which I would say that was the point where I was like, okay, he's a thief, because like what do thieves do? Break and enter, get to like the safe and take the jewels. In this case, he wasn't interested in like taking the jewels, or it wasn't jewels that he was taking, but you could imagine if
It's
he was
kind of like
trying to
it's
steal
kind of a little bit like The Rock from 1996 with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, where Sean Connery's character was the only guy who's ever successfully escaped from Alcatraz, and using the skills he picked up there, they bring him in to help them break into Alcatraz when it's been taken over by terrorists. So it's similar, sort of like, oh, we're using our thieving skills or criminal skills to a more noble end here. So what I'm saying is the Rocks stole from Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro. It's true.
Yeah. Then there's then he crashes the wedding, and well, there's the second escape attempt, and then he crashes the wedding.
Yeah. When he
Right.
gets it really badly, yeah, because so like the first meeting, and then once they ramp things up again, and he gets all hurt, and then they have to crash the wedding, and they somehow get up on top of a clock tower. And
Yeah.
Like
Goemon
Goku Gods.
and Jigen are there, but that's just kind of because they have to be. The core cast is really like 3 people. It's just Lupin and the Count and
and the princess.
the girl.
yeah, I remember
And then-
Jigen at least having a more prominent role in the when I was watched the movie as a younger man, but that probably is just me misremembering.
It's because he's a fun character when the dub is good. He's a good character because it's all his whole thing is in the voice performance. Like he's the comic relief. He's kind of like the silly Lupin's like the silly guy, but Jigen's like the straight man who's dry and kind of wry with his humor.
Yeah, he needs in the manga dub. He has a nice gruffer voice, which matches the character
I
more.
think it's David Hayter.
Yeah, but in the streamlined dub, his voice is like an octave higher, and it sounds like he's never touched a cigarette in his life. And he's literally got a cigarette in his mouth the entire movie.
Clearly, because there's an ashtray in the car that just has butts sticking out.
He'll
of it.
just pick one out, and he's like, "All right, I guess I'll fucking."
Yeah, they're all
this.
like, they're always like
Gotta
mangled
finish off this
because
one.
all his cells have the cigarette kind of like bent. So like in every scene, it's always bent.
Yeah.
It's those kind of details that this movie that's where it shines, and that's why when you fuck up the thing like the dub, when you do it, you just change a thing like the dub, you change the whole character of the movie.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just, for me, a lot of the enjoyment is taking in sort of the moments and the little elegant touches, and it's a very, if you're into it, if it's gotcha, it's a very immersive experience. A lot of where I enjoyed was just being there and being like, oh, I would love to be standing on this cool aqueduct in the middle of a lake. Wouldn't that be good? As the sun sets, that's a cool place to be.
pieces
Yeah,
were really
the visuals and the sound design are strong points. The plot is a little thin. It kind of just feels like it serves to give a justification for these visuals and sound effects to happen. That being said, if you're into this sort of thing, and I'm not saying this is bad, but if you're a fan of like Miyazaki movies, you will definitely enjoy this one. If you're not, I don't think this one's going to win you over per se, but I do enjoy it more than something like Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, where I just cannot get into it. This has a much simpler story, and the events are a little more. There's a little more of a logical progression to the events, and it's an easier watch for me. It's also not as long as a lot of his other movies, even though it feels a good twice the length that it actually is.
I think what helps to spin off of that, what helps is that these characters are really fun to watch. Lupin, Jigen, Goemon. We didn't get that much Goemon, but like, he sounds like a Digimon.
I'm pretty sure there is a Goemon.
There might actually
Digimon.
be. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised how he has a sword. But like the Jigen, the Lupin,
Zenigata.
even the interactions between the Zenyatta, Fujiko,
Yep.
Fuji Cakes.
Fuji Cake.
Is her name Fuji Cakes or is it Fuji?
It's Fujiko
subtitles
Mine.
called it.
Fujiko Mine. But Lupin, they were in love. Their story is, her character is that she and Lupin had a fling, and they're kind of like
So that's his pet
stilted
name for her,
lover
Fuji Cakes?
rivals.
Yeah.
Jilted lover.
I love that. I think that's really cool.
It's spelt differently, but there is a
Fuji Cakes.
Goemon. I think that's how you
And
pronounce it anyway. It's the little wolf guy,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Lincoln coming.
Yeah. So I think this is I think the characters really sent it for me, and I really want to kind of watch more. Not gonna lie.
There's plenty more.
More of this.
I'll recommend the
see
next one.
more, yeah, it seems like there's a lot
Yeah,
more.
there's the
More series.
Nostradamus, the Prophecy Nostradamus. There's a couple new ones.
Kind of almost want to watch the new one.
Lupin the Third, the First.
Just slap it right to the new one. Let's see how we've watched the old. I've had the young calf. Now I want the.
Did I show you the trailer for this?
strong-
Yeah, all I remember is like
The-
it was more like a tech demo for the animation than it was a trailer for anything that's happened in the movie. I remember it being in like a laserscape.
Right. Here's here's an actual trailer. We'll watch this after. We'll talk about this after we're done. But it is the movie is out. At least it was out in Japan. There's again, because of weird copyright claim disputes, the thing's not. It's gonna be a fucking while before it gets over here because they gotta work through paperwork through legitimate means. So we may still enjoy that. That's all I'm gonna say.
So I guess final recommendations here.
If you're watching this with family, if you have it's a great family movie. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing. By wrong, I mean like nothing inappropriate. Put it in your collection. I remember watching this as a kid and it was great. You're just like, yeah, look at the scenes, look at it's so cool, and just sort of goes into your brain, and it's inoffensive and it just feels right. Again, yeah, if you're not a fan of Miyazaki, this isn't going to change your mind, I don't think.
Yeah, I would say that if you're into this sort of thing, if you're into Miyazaki, if you're into anime in general, this won't disappoint. If you're curious, I'd say it's at least worth checking out. Maybe you don't have to watch the whole thing intently, but you can fast forward and see like some of the cooler scenes.
And like we said, it's in 3 climaxes, so you can just watch it in parts. I feel it's not a movie that demands your attention the whole time because it's so simple. I think you can catch up.
Perhaps
at any
that's
point.
even the better way to watch it if you're not like super invested. Watch like a half-hour chunk and then again later on space it out throughout the day or over several days. But yeah, like I can appreciate it as a technically good movie, although it is not something that I think I would seek out under normal circumstances, although I did watch it many years ago under normal circumstances. So perhaps I am talking out of both sides of my mouth. But yeah, I'd say I'd give this, go watch it if you're interested. If you're not, don't bother.
Yeah, I think it's got good characters. It has a fine plot. You don't have to really pay attention to it. You know what's going on. And if you want to see what all the hype is about this, I would call him a classic character. I think everybody would. He's been around for a long ass time. So, if you still want to see what all the hype is about, check it out. It's good, and it's on Netflix too.
Yeah,
easy watch. Just a little weird.
Watch
with
it
the
subbed
subtitles
on if you're gonna watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's a thing I will caveat here. It's not worth watching the streamlined dub. If you need to watch a dub, do your best to seek out the manga entertainment dub, because the streamlined dub actively detracts from the quality of the movie. I think we lost Peter.
Yeah. He's staring.
He's
staring
got the
into my
death stare
soul.
on. So we'll wrap this up here. You can check us out on Twitch, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturdays is when we usually stream. We'll be streaming tonight. I'm feeling Fall Guys. If get on that hype train. And there goes Peter. He's disconnected from the call. It's broken our formatting and templating. So we'll wrap it up here quickly. So yeah, that'll be happening at Twitch TV /SaturnStuds. Place to go for that. Twitter @StudsSaturn. You'll get notified when we go live and all that good stuff. All those links are accessible through our website, saturnstuds.com. Please subscribe to us on your podcasting app of choice so you don't miss any new episodes. And if your app of choice supports it, please leave us a good review. We will shout out any 5-star reviews on any platform. You can email us at saturnstuds@gmail.com if we didn't get to yours. Sometimes I forget to check before the show, so give me an email and we'll make sure that you get shouted out on the show. You can support the show by donating. There's a link to that in the description if you have the money. If you don't worry about it. We're doing just fine. But it's a nice gesture of support if you want to know how you can support the show. So until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.